So in the last lesson, we talked about the different types of angles, specifically corresponding, and I'm sorry, not course. Well, we talked about corresponding, but we talked complementary and supplementary angles. Today, we're going to bring those type of angles in, vertical angles in, and we're going to start writing some equations to solve for some unknown angles. So lesson 2 is on solving for unknown angles using equations. All right, so it says two lines meet a point. In a complete sentence, describe the relevant angle relationship in the diagram. Okay, so we feel free to refer back to lesson 1 for the different types of angle relationships. The one where I want you to focus on maybe first is vertical, okay? Vertical angles occur when two lines intersect, okay? So if we look here, we have two lines intersecting. So I'm not going to worry so much about being a complete sentence. I'm going to say, maybe I will. Vertical angles are congruent. That's what I'll say. Okay, these here are vertical angles. Oops. Because remember, vertical angles are the ones opposite each other when two lines meet at a point. So if we're meeting here, okay, this angle and this angle are opposite each other. Okay, they're not adjacent, they don't share a common side. Vertical angles are congruent, the geometry word for equal. So here, if I know this side's 25, I automatically know that S is 25. Why? Vertical angles are congruent. So that's why it's going to be important to pick out vertical angles. So from there, I can find R and I can find T. Okay? The reason is if we look again, this is a straight line right here. Okay, so ignoring this bottom part here, the distance for angle R right here, plus 25, they're supplementary, they add to 180. So I know R plus 25 degrees equals 180 degrees. So again, as we were practicing last lesson, I want to know what R is, so I have to get rid of the 25. It's a positive 25 or it's plus 25, so I'm going to subtract 25 from each side. That gives me 0, and I'm left with R equals 180 minus 25, which is 155 degrees. So I have S at 25 degrees. I have R at 155 degrees. The last one I need to find is T. Now, I could absolutely do 180 minus 25 again, but notice that R and T are vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent, so T also has to be 155 degrees. Okay? So a lot of times things are more confusing than what they are. Looking for vertical angles, though, helps because you're going to find some. Okay? So, well, hopefully you'll find some. And if you do, you know they're equal. So let's look at a couple more examples. You're going to notice what I'm doing in all of these is I'm taking the two lines that intersect at a point and I'm extending them out. Okay, we have more than two lines in this one, but when I thicken those two lines, what I notice is that the ones opposite each other are vertical. This angle and this angle are vertical. And vertical angles are congruent. Okay? So I'm not going to do this in a complete sentence here, but I'm going to say we have vertical angles. I'm going to like abbreviate it like that, right? So vertical angles are congruent. That means R right here has to be equal to, well, put 28 and 16 together. Just add them together. And we'll know that R equals 44 degrees. Okay. Which makes, and so again, sometimes you have to start with one way, which I'm telling you, start with vertical angles. And then in this case, we can use our idea of supplementary angles. And sometimes you need to rotate your picture and look. I get that it's sometimes hard to see these things. But if I look right here, this is a straight line. So, oops, well, you get that idea. R plus B here have to equal 180 degrees when I add them together. So if I go P plus 44, that's going to equal 180 degrees because this angle plus this angle together form a straight line. A straight line is 180 degrees. Two angles that add to 180 are supplementary. So that's why we say like straight angle, straight line, and supplementary go together. Then it's just solving a simple equation. If you need help with that, let me know. It cancels out. Equals, grab a calculator, go 180 minus 44, and we get 136 degrees. Okay? So again, pulling out those vertical angles helps, because otherwise they seem pretty confusing. So take a highlighter or marker or something and try to mark some vertical angles. Okay? Let's look at one more example. 3 lines meet at a point. Oh, it's going to make it confusing for me to draw my 2 lines, but I bet we still can. In a complete sentence, not doing a complete sentence. I know, sorry. What is our relevant angle relationship? Vertical angles. Okay, there's other ones we're going to use, but it helps to start out with vertical. Well, maybe vertical. I am kind of anticipating vertical here, but let me show you what I'm thinking. I want to know what these 2 A's are here. So if I draw a line here and here with any of these, I can make them go down, but they're not going to help me. Cancel, cross out. What I want us to actually see is this straight angle right here. Okay, I want us to ignore everything down here. Okay, because if we do that, do you guys see how right here, that's a straight angle. Now this isn't supplementary, okay, because it's not 2 angles. Okay, technically it's not 2 angles that add to 180 degrees, but it is a straight angle, and straight angles do add to 180 degrees. So I really can just go A plus 144 plus A has to equal 180. They form a straight line. Okay. So my relevant angle relationship here, I'll say supplementary, but add to 180, right? Okay, so if I have 1A plus 1A, that's 2 A's when I simplify this like we talked about. Add that to my 144, I get 180. Solving for A, so I'm going to solve for 2A first. Get rid of this 144 by subtracting it from both sides. I'm left with 2A, that adds to 0, equals 36. This is 2 times A, so I undo that by dividing. Divide both sides by 2. And A equals 18. Now, before we end here, make sure we're answering the question being asked. Set up and solve an equation, check to find the value of A. I did that right here. Okay, so again, the ones we worked on here, we'll do some more examples in the next video. Our focus was on vertical angles or supplementary angles, angles that form a straight line and add to 180.